Berman in New York, in for Abby Phillip. Let's get right to what America is talking about, political war, so say liberals across the nation, as Texas orders the arrests of Democrats who fled the state in protest over Republicans moving to redraw its political map mid-decade, which is extremely rare, allowing for the possible elimination of 5 Democratic seats.
They're leaving and they've left because they're very un-Texan. Texans don't run from a fight. I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
So the state's attorney general says they will be swiftly arrested, punished, and face the full force of the law. But for Democratic governors from some of the biggest states in the country, this means the gloves are off.
All's fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible.
All bets are off when the cult leader and would-be dictator of the United States tells Texas to midstream change the game when they know that they're going to lose in 2026. All bets are off. Everything's got to be on the table.
This is existential. This is real life. Everything's on the line here. It's not a gross exaggeration. I feel that in my bones. We're looking at 3 or 4 different pathways as it relates to the when and the how.
All right, joining us in our 5th seat at the table, journalist and historian Garrett Graff. He's the director of cyber initiatives at the Aspen Institute Digital and the author of The Devil Reached Toward the Sky. I'm holding a copy in my hands. I can't wait to read it as soon as this show is over. Garrett, what's going on?
Do it in the trash.
It's in the trash can. What's going on in Texas? Who's doing what to whom in Texas, Garrett?
So I think that this is, in some ways, the blueprint for how democracy ends up getting lost in 2026. I have never believed that Donald Trump was going to do something like cancel the midterms. What the goal in these next couple of years is going to be is to shape in subtle ways who turns out to vote in 2026 and 2028 and change the electorate to ensure that the Republicans are able to lock in illegitimately majority power going forward.
Is that what's at stake here, Batya?
Well, first of all, gerrymandering is one of those things that everybody does. Like, the idea that Donald Trump made this up is, I think, kind of insane. I don't think you really think that. I mean,
I definitely didn't say that.
They fled to Illinois, which is one of the most, gerrymandered states in the union. I happen to love this story because I love the political theater of it all. I love that they absconded. I love that now there are arrest warrants out. I think that the American people don't care at all about this. But what's most interesting to me about this is that these new 5, potential Republican-controlled districts are all majority Hispanic. The Republicans are leaning into the victories that Trump had with Hispanic voters in 2024 and saying, hey, we're going to bet on ourselves. We're going to bet that we're going to keep these voters, and we're going to try to get them into our coalition via these districts. And it's amazing to me that the Democrats, instead of fighting for those voters, are just kind of running away and ceding the point that these Republican districts full of Hispanics are now going to go for Republicans eternally.
That was the most grasping for straws I have ever seen in my life. She's just trying too hard to shape the narrative, and it's just doing the opposite of what she's going for big time. Look, it's easy for someone like her to sit on the sidelines and laugh like it's a reality show, but this wasn't political theater. It was political resistance. There's a difference. These lawmakers weren't trying to cheat the system. They were trying to stop the system that was being cheated right in front of us all. You don't fly to another state and risk arrest and ridicule and national headlines unless the stakes are serious, which they were serious. I mean, obviously, Texas Republicans were using gerrymandering and voter suppression laws to rig the elections for the next decade. The walkout wasn't about being dramatic. It was about delaying that power grab long enough for the country to pay attention. And guess what? It worked.
Fighting for those voters are just kind of running away and ceding the point that these Republican districts full of Hispanics are now going to go for Republicans eternally.
Okay.
Yeah, that ain't what happened. So I think that was a great bastion of talking points, but that's not really what's happening. Gerrymandering, to your point, is as American as apple pie.
Right.
Like I have always just said that Democrats actually do redistricting the correct way. Republicans do it the way they do it. For a long period of time, for the past 20, 30, 40 years, you've had an unholy alliance between the Republican Party and the Congressional Black Caucus. And usually it's state Black Caucus legislators who seed black members get as many black members from white Republicans as they can, and white Republicans give as many as they can, and it makes these competitive districts go away. It is the most unsexy thing in the American political spectrum. That's what happens. And when that occurs, you have these districts that are 30, 40, 45, 55% African American, and you have these districts that are overwhelmingly white Republican districts. And you cannot, it's only one in a primary.
And nobody's drawing lines based on race and ethnicity anymore. Let's be honest. We
No,
have
that's not true.
AI.
You're not
we
being,
have
you're not
AI, and just let me talk for a second.
But
okay?
nothing you just said was right.
I didn't say anything because you're interrupting me. Okay, there is a law in Texas, and there's a law in most states that allows the House to physically compel people to be present for votes. And when the Democrats are running away from voting, what they're doing is running away from allowing this so-called gerrymandering to be challenged in a court of law. There is a long history of challenges in Texas.
To what you said that it's not being
long. And if they are accusing the Republicans of drawing lines based on race or ethnicity, a court will shut this down in a second. But when you run away from voting, you are preventing this from being challenging in a court. It is that simple. It's the most anti-democratic thing that you do.
If you believe that there is a law.
First of all, throughout history, walkouts and nonviolent disruptions have been used to stop injustice. From civil rights leaders to anti-war protests, I mean, this isn't new. It's part of American democracy. Sometimes you have to break the routine to protect the republic. And you know what? Funny how it's illegal now, but when Republicans pulled similar moves in Oregon and Wisconsin, it was called standing their ground. You can't just cry foul, just because the other team is using your own playbook. As if.
Please tell me, because we just had the Voting Rights Act gutted. So please tell me what law, particularly in the South, prevents this from happening. And I just want to one bit of it, like I was in the General Assembly in South Carolina when we drew these lines. And so I've actually seen these lines be drawn. And what I'm absolutely telling you is places like Tim Scott's old South Carolina 1st District, right, where he ceded black voters to Jim Clyburn. That's exactly what he did. It made Jim Clyburn's district more African American. It made Tim Scott's district more white so that people would vote for them.
So how do you change that? Do you change it by running away and delaying the process another 30 days? No, you change it by having independent,
non-elected commissioners vote on it.
But that's not what's happening. They're running away. They're literally fleeing to Illinois, which ironically is a sanctuary state. They're delaying the vote another 30 days. We've seen this happen in Texas before. It happened in 2021 when the Democrats were challenging the same type of voting laws. Should we have drive-in, voting polls and absentee ballots? They came back 30 days later. They were forced to vote, and the bill passed.
You know what? They didn't pick fucking Illinois for comedy points. Fleeing to Illinois wasn't cowardice. I don't know what. It was a legally protected parliamentary move to prevent a rushed, undemocratic redistricting process. Quorum breaking has been used by both parties in the past. When the stakes were high, I mean, they didn't abandon their seats. They used their power to defend voting rights and fair representation, which is literally what they were elected to do. It was a tactical move. And if all best you can do is crack jokes about it, it tells me that they're more comfortable about destroying democracy than they are about standing up for it.
I'd like you to jump in here, but before you get a piece of the action here, I feel like there's a little bit of a single entendre going on here, which is that everyone knows who's trying to do what here. Donald Trump wants 5 seats in Texas. He asked the Republicans to push for it, and the Republicans there basically admit it. Listen to what State Rep Harrison today said to our friend Boris Sanchez. Listen to this.
Here's what I want to support. I want to make sure that elected Republicans in the state of Texas are doing everything we can to make sure that Congress, the United States Congress, in the upcoming midterm elections, does not fall into the hands of the radical extremist Democrat.
This is purely a political move. Why not get rid of gerrymandering altogether and actually put the power in the hands of voters to make the republic more efficient?
Well, Well, I actually think we are trying to make the maps more representative.
I mean, he basically just said he wants to do everything he can to make sure the Republicans are elected in Texas. So, as I said, a single entendre.
John, I'm Puerto Rican. When I don't know what I'm talking about, I shut up. That's why you see me be quiet and watch you guys argue for a little bit. But now I am going to talk about something that I know you're tired of talking about because you've been up since 7 a.m. I saw you this morning on my flight talking about this. You interviewed Gene Wu.
I did.
You asked him, what's the move here? What's the play here? And he said, some word salad. And then you said, that's not what I asked you. What is the move here? So to your point, Batya, there is a little bit of like a dance here where we know it's gamesmanship. So we all know that election.
Okay, before he gets into that, I just want to say, you want to talk about who's really ridiculous here? It's not the Democrats walking out. It's the fucking Republicans for trying to rig the rules because they know they can't win fair and square. That's not strength. That's desperation. They're not playing chess. They're like flipping the board. I mean, when you've got to redraw maps and suppress voters and push bills in the dead of the night just to stay in power, you're not winning. You're losing, and you know it. So yeah, Republicans called it a walkout, tried to clown it as theatrics, but what it really did was expose the truth. If your ideas were actually popular, you wouldn't have to cheat. That's the real L here. And with the pollings lately, I mean, it's the worst in history. Of course, they're freaking out about it. Look at how far they're going.
And we all know that this is all part of it. So when it happens in blue states, I don't want to hear you complaining. And it's happening in red states right now. And we can't complain, unfortunately. That's part of all of this. There's a political theater in all of this. But the biggest thing that I wanted to piggyback on what she said is that the American people that are watching this at home have no idea what the word gerrymandering means. Correct. You can look that up in Gallup polling. They don't know what these big political terms. Maybe our audience is a little bit more educated because it's 10 o'clock at night and they like watching us, and they've been watching you since 7:30. But a lot of people that are independent voters and some that are in that moderate of both lanes, they don't know what this word means. They see the theater of it. They see that Gavin Newsom's out there on the steps in Sacramento saying that he's going to do the same thing that they're doing in Texas, and they go, hey, that's the same thing. That's apples to apples.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that like half the Democrats are out here saying like the Republicans are cheating, and the other half are saying, wait a minute, we need to do it too. If you're doing it, we're going to do it too.
Adam Kinzinger, before we came on with John King at 8 o'clock, he said he was gerrymandered in his own district. That's why he lost his race. He said that, and we know he doesn't like Trump.
Garrett?
But I think part of this is the Democrats are doing it in response to the Republicans doing something that is atypical. It is totally normal to redistrict. It is something that happens based on the census, and then we sort of reapportion Congress. Everyone redraws their districts, and it's meant to be a process that occurs sort of traditionally in American politics on that once-a-decade schedule. And for the Republicans to be trying to change the rules in the middle of the decade right now is the thing.
But it's not curious. And so let me just say this. If Republicans were going to march to a sweep in 2026, would you be trying to realign districts today? The answer is no. And so, yes, the answer is if you can't win the game as it's played right now, you just rig it, right? And so that's what's happening before our eyes. And I think that is what, I get it. American public may not understand gerrymandering, right? They may not understand the word. They may not grasp how it's done every 10 years or how it's done. But what they do realize is that the economy sucks. 11 million people are getting kicked off Medicaid. The things that the competency and consistency that they had previously is not there anymore. And Republicans are losing. So now they're changing the game.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. Garrett Graff, thank you so much for joining us. This is...
Okay, but let's clear something up really quick. Okay, when a group of elected officials pack their bags and cross state lines, they're not running away. They're not abandoning their posts. They're sounding the fucking alarms, okay? Because when democracy is under attack, you don't play nice. Why is that so hard to grasp? I mean, you don't just sit there and smile and pretend like the rules are still fair. You stand up, and if standing up means walking out, you walk. That's what the Texas Democrats did in 2021. They left their home state and went to Chicago to deny quorum on a gerrymandering bill that would have locked Republican power in place for decades. Let me break that down. Let me break that down for anyone confused. They didn't flee. They fought. They didn't lose their seats. They used their seats to block a system trying to make sure your vote doesn't count unless you vote correctly. Now, some folks are out here calling it illegal or cowardly or un-American. It's so dumb. But here's the thing. Parliamentary walkouts are as old as this country's freaking government, okay? Republicans did it in Oregon. Democrats did it in Texas before. Hell, even Abraham Lincoln himself. He walked out of a vote as a young legislator to block an unjust law. So let's not pretend this is unprecedented, okay? Let's not pretend this is weak. This was strategy, because if you're facing a rigged system, one designed to redraw the map so that you and your opponents never have to earn your vote again, then delaying that system, slowing it down, forcing the country to look and listen, yeah, that's not quitting, okay? That's straight up leadership. And you know what? It worked. The bill stalled, people started paying attention, national conversations around voter suppression and, district manipulation came back into focus. And even though the bill eventually passed, what those lawmakers did mattered a whole lot. It sparked fire, it inspired resistance, it showed that sometimes not showing up is how you show out. So to the people calling them pansies or quitters or whatever the fuck MAGA, name-calling shit that they say, let me ask you, what's more American? Blindly playing along with injustice or risking everything to stop it? They didn't break democracy, okay? They broke the silence around a democracy that's already breaking itself. Jesus Christ, the way that they're going about it is so annoying. Because let's be honest, we are watching a slow-motion coup dressed up as policy, and too many people are asleep at the freaking wheel, okay? Gerrymandering isn't politics as usual. It's power hoarding. It's voter suppression with a smile and a spreadsheet. It's slicing up, communities like a pizza so that one party always gets the biggest piece, even when they lose the popular vote. So what those lawmakers did, that was courage. That was sacrifice. That was a reminder that politics ain't just about handshakes and headlines. It's about protecting the people that you represent, even when the system tells you not to. Okay? I need people to really understand that, because this is a pretty big deal. And let this be a lesson. Real power isn't sitting in a chair and waiting to be steamrolled. Real power is knowing when to move, when to shift, when to say, no, not today, not on my watch, bitch. And if walking out means standing up for democracy, then fucking walk. Then walk. Walk proud, walk loud, walk until the people wake up and realize this fucking fight is for all of us. It's for all of us.
Subscribe to my channel.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
They got your data, dumbass.
Do not come. Do not come.